Welcome back, Kingdom Builders. I'm your host, Rudy Knapp, and this is Legacy Build Your Kingdom. Before we jump into today's focus, a quick reminder. If you are serious about commanding your purpose and securing your future, pick up your copy of Legacy Build Your Kingdom, a divine blueprint. Command your purpose, secure your future, and leave a legacy for generational impact. It is available for you right now on Amazon, Kindle, and for those of you that prefer to listen as you go, it is live and ready for you on Audible. Grab your copy, start building your blueprint today. In our landmark 50th episode, we took a moment to look back at the foundation we've laid. We celebrated the milestone of a year and 2 months of consistency, of stepping out of my comfort zone, and of sharing the raw, unfiltered truth of my personal journey. We also had the special moments dedicated to Ben and Sophie, setting down the core values and why behind this entire project, so they and all of you have a reference point for when life gets loud and the path gets blurry. We introduced the principle of stewardship, the daily audit to measure our 5 pillars, and the 5-year letter activity to bridge the gap between where you are and where you are destined to be. Today, we are building on that foundation. We've talked about expectations, gratitude, and stewardship. Now, I want to talk about the power of the pivot. So, why do we fear this pivot? In the legacy philosophy, we often mistake staying the course for stubbornness. We think that once we set a boundary or define a goal, we have to stick to it until the bitter end, even if that path is no longer serving our kingdom. But sovereignty isn't about being rigid. It's about being responsive to the truth. A pivot is not a failure. A pivot is a tactical adjustment based on new intelligence. If you are sailing a ship and you realize a storm is ahead, you don't keep sailing into it because you committed to that direction. You adjust your sails. That is not weakness. That is leadership. In my own life, I had to pivot many times, whether it's in my teaching career, my coaching business, or even in my physical training rotations. Every time I feared the pivot, it was because of ego. My ego wanted to be right. My spirit, however, knew it needed to be effective. Think about that in your relationships. Instead of just being right, think about what is effective, what works, what happens between you and your person to make it work, not just be right. So how do you know when it's time to pivot? I use 3 markers to audit my direction. The stagnation marker. If you are putting in the work but getting zero growth in one of your pillars, the spiritual, the mental, the physical, the career, or the relationship, your strategy is broken. If the fruit isn't growing, check the roots, not the branch. Think about that. The integrity marker. Does your current path still align with your core values? If you find yourself compromising your standards to reach a goal, you aren't building a kingdom. You are building a trap. And the peacemaker. This is the most subtle one. When you are on your true path, even when it's hard, there is a sense of righteousness. If you feel constant low-level dread or forced alignment, your soul is telling you that you are out of position. Those 3 markers can help you understand when you should pivot. Once you identify that a pivot is necessary, don't just jump blindly. Use the pivot protocol. Extract the lesson. Before you walk away from a strategy, a habit, or a project, ask what it taught you. Every failed attempt is actually a piece of data. Write it down. Realign with the blueprint. Go back to your core purpose. Does this new direction build you closer to your divine blueprint, or is it just another distraction? Execute the turn. Small, calculated shifts are better than massive, reckless changes. Make the pivot, observe the results, and refine. I want to share a quick example. A few years ago, I had a specific athletic goal that I was obsessed with. I built my entire training schedule around it. But after 4 weeks, my body and my schedule were fighting each other. My ego screamed, "Don't quit." But my wisdom said, "Pivot." I changed my training methodology. I stopped focusing on the perfect plan and started listening to what my recovery and my actual life demands required. By pivoting, I ended up getting stronger, faster, and more energized than I ever would have if I would have stayed on that rigid, unsustainable path. The pivot saved my progress. When I started training for the marathon, I had to make a pivot. I couldn't stay on the same training regimen that I had planned for me that other people had laid out. I had to do what my plan said so that my body could align with this training. Depth requires us to address this sunk cost exercise. We often stay in a relationship, a job, or even a bad habit because we've already invested time or effort into it. But the time is already spent. You cannot get it back. The only thing you control is the next investment. So try this. Look at one area of your life where you feel stuck. Ask yourself, if I were starting from scratch today, would I choose this path? If the answer is no, stop letting your past self dictate your present reality. Your kingdom is built on your current capacity, not your past investments. A true sovereign knows how to cut losses to protect the future. This is the ultimate act of stewardship, protecting your energy for the things that truly yield a harvest. Difficult to do, but absolutely needed. To take this step a little further, I want you to develop a pivot contingency. Most people wait until the crisis hits to decide how to change. That is when you are stressed and your judgment is clouded. Instead, I want you to look at your primary goals for this year and identify one major potential obstacle for each. Then, write down exactly how you will pivot if the obstacles appear. For example, if your goal is a specific fitness milestone, but an injury occurs, what is the pivot move? Is it a focus on mobility? Is it a nutrition heavy phase? When you map out your pivots before you need them, you remove the emotional weight of failing. You turn a disaster into a planned detour. This is how you stay sovereign, even when the environment around you shifts. To take away today, you need to know that your kingdom is not a museum piece. It is a living, breathing entity that requires your active, intelligent management. Do not be afraid to change your tactics if your mission remains the same. This week, audit your current projects. Are you stagnating? Are you losing your peace? If so, apply the pivot protocol. Don't be afraid to adjust. Also, don't be afraid to put aside your ego and understand that you need guidance. What's a great way to have guidance? Follow this divine blueprint. that I put out there on Amazon. Pick up your copy. Go get Legacy Build Your Kingdom. Go get it on Audible and listen to it while you're driving to work. Go buy a copy so you have your journaling piece and you're answering questions right in front of you. Use this tool within to help you navigate these pivots with confidence. Stay disciplined. Keep your focus on what you can control and leave a legacy that matters. Build your kingdom, but never forget who you're building it for. I'm Rudy Knapp. I'll talk to you next week. This has been episode 51.